Thank you. 존경하는 내외 기빈, 성직자, 가정연합 회원, 그리고 오늘 축복받은 축복가정 여러분 환영합니다. 우리는 오늘도 전쟁과 갈등이 없는 평화로운 세계를 원하고 있습니다. 그러나 그 길은 보이지 않습니다.
world of peace remains elusive at times.
인간의
This is because
노력이나
with human efforts alone, with human power
이제 더
alone,
이상의 미래에 대한 희망이
we can no longer find the hope we yearn for about the
우주의
future.
주인이신
Originally,
창조주
God, the creator
하나님을
of heaven and
바로
earth,
알아야 합니다.
is the true owner of the universe. And we must
하나님께서는
understand His will and
당신의
practice
형상을
His
따라서
will.
천지
God
만물을
created heaven and earth
창조하였습니다.
in His image.
그리고
And
인간 조상이
God
될 수
also
있는
created
남자와
the first
여자를
human ancestors, a man and a woman.
인간에게는
To human beings,
성장
God
기간이라는
gave a period of
시간을
growth,
통해서
a period of
인간
time
스스로가
through which human beings
하나님이
were
보시기에
meant to grow and
아름답게
become fruitful,
성장하였다 하는
grow beautifully.
그 순간
And once they
그
had
때를
reached
기다리며
maturity, once they had become
오셨습니다.
fruitful,
그러나
they would have received God's blessings.
인간은
However,
자기를 돌아보게 됐습니다.
our first human ancestors became self-centered.
나도 하나님과 같이 될
They
수 있는데
Thought, I can
욕심이
become
생겼습니다.
like God.
그것이
They
오늘날
allowed greed
타락한 인류가
to
되었습니다.
guide them, and as a result, they
창조주
fell. And that
하나님과는
has been the origin of the human fall.
세상이
And
되어버린
the world
것입니다.
consequently became a world
우리는
severed from God.
하나님을 하나님 아버지라고 부릅니다.
Many call God Father. Yes, indeed, God is our Father. However, birth
아버지 혼자
is not possible with the Father alone.
그렇다면 원래
Therefore,
하나님께서 원하셨던 것
what God originally wished for was for the first human ancestors to grow in virtue, reach perfection, and once they had become fruitful, they would live in communion with God.
하나님은
Therefore,
우리의
God is our heavenly parent.
그러나 문제는
Now, here is the issue.
창조 원칙을
The
우리는 알아야
issue
합니다.
is that we must understand the principle through which God created the universe.
인간이
And one key principle is for human beings to grow to maturity and become fruitful. Heaven has waited for human beings to reach maturity and become fruitful, which is why human beings are different from the rest of creation.
그 자리까지 나아가지 못했습니다.
Unfortunately, our first ancestors failed to become fruitful.
전능하십니다.
Heaven is almighty and omnipotent,
당신이 세우신 창조
and
원칙을
God has led the providence in agreement with the principles that he established. Therefore, the contribution of human beings is essential to the perfection of God's providence. And therefore, God has led the painful and arduous history of the providence of restoration through indemnity to save fallen human beings. God raised the people of Israel as the chosen people, beginning from the individual all the way to the tribe and a society until a national foundation could be established. Until the national foundation could be established, God led the providence of restoration. It took 4,000 long years until finally, from among in the midst of fallen human beings, God sent his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. Unfortunately, the people of Israel, although raised as the chosen people, the people of the time could not welcome and support Jesus as Messiah. How is it possible that heaven invested 4,000 long biblical years to send the Savior Christ? However, despite heaven's best efforts, it took 4,000 biblical years for Christ's advent to become a reality. Neither Mary, who gave birth to Jesus, nor the people of Israel at the time, nor even the Jewish leaders at the time, could recognize the true essence and identity of Jesus. Jesus came as the only begotten Son, and Jesus' mission was to become the true parent. However, the leaders in the vicinity of Jesus failed to completely unite with Jesus. And having no foundation to stand upon, Jesus had no choice but to walk the miserable path of the cross. How is it possible that when Jesus went on the cross, there was no one to take his place, neither Mary nor the 12 apostles were there when Jesus faced the cross. Next to Jesus were only the two thieves to the left and the right of Jesus. The thief to Jesus' left mocked Jesus. However, the thief to Jesus' right recognized Christ's innocence and even rebuked the thief to the left of Jesus, recognizing that they were crucified for their mistakes, but Christ was innocent. Hearing the thief's testimony, what did Jesus say? He said, "You and I shall go to paradise." Jesus did not say the kingdom of heaven, but paradise. Jesus also prophesied during his lifetime that he would come again. Jesus' mission was to become the true parent of humanity and give a rebirth and salvation to all of fallen humanity, so that all of humanity could be born again as God's beloved children. However, Jesus could not completely fulfill the purpose of his advent.
이스라엘 민족은
And the people of Israel at the time, who could not fully understand the purpose of Jesus' advent, had to endure tremendous indemnity, which we are too well aware of through history.
쓰시지 않습니다.
Heaven could no longer work with
예수님께서
a people
다시
who did
오만이기
not
때문에
fulfill their responsibility. And since Christ had prophesied that he would return,
예수님이
Jesus
어린 양 잔치를 한다고 했으니
mentioned he would come again to host the marriage wedding of the
어떤
Lamb.
섭리 역사가 이루어져야 되겠습니까?
Hence, what providential dispensation should take place?
독생녀를
Heaven
탄생시킬 수 있는 선한
Raise
민족을
another
하나 세우십니다.
virtuous people through which he could send the only begotten
그
daughter.
민족 가운데
And among these people,
기독교의 배경을 통해서
through the only begotten
독생녀가
daughter,
탄생될 수 있었습니다.
was born from a rich Christian background. I was born in 1943.
1945년에
And in 1945, the Second World War came to an end.
그때 한국은
At that time,
연합군에 의해서
Korea
남북이 갈렸습니다.
was divided,
민주화 공산으로
and Korea was divided into the communist North and the democratic South.
이북의 공산 체제는
The communist regime in North Korea
남침할 준비가 다 되어 있습니다.
was ready to invade South Korea.
남한은
However,
아직
South Korea's
준비하는
nascent
과정입니다.
democratic government was not ready to defend itself against North Korea's invasion.
창조 원칙에 의해서
In the midst of this situation,
성장 기간을
heaven
역사에
had to keep its promise,
그렇다면
because as I mentioned earlier,
43년에 태어난
heaven had
독생자는
to protect the only begotten daughter born in 1943 until she could reach maturity.
기독교의
At that
역사는
time,
짧았지만
although the history of Christianity in Korea was relatively short,
진리로서
Christianity,
다시 오실
the Christian fervor was tremendous, and countless believers were preparing for the second advent of Christ.
그 섭리가
And this providence was unfolding, centering on Pyongyang.
그렇기 때문에 내 고향은 이북입니다.
My hometown is in present-day North Korea, and my entire family did not think of fleeing to South Korea. But since heaven had to protect me until I reached an age of maturity, heaven worked so that I could come to South Korea. And 2 years after I reached South Korea, the Korean War erupted.
세계적으로 알려지지 않은
How is it
작은
possible
나라였지만
that a country unknown to the world, a country so small that few could identify it on a map,
피를
was
흘렸습니다.
defended by the United Nations?
누구 때문이겠습니까?
The youth from 16 nations came and made the ultimate sacrifice to preserve Korea's democracy. This dispensation was held to protect the only begotten daughter who could not emerge at the time of Christ.
2000년 후
And 2,000 years after Jesus' crucifixion, the only begotten daughter finally emerged on earth after 6,000 years of the providence. And the only begotten daughter needed to be protected. how
감사한 오묘한
mysterious yet
하늘의 축복이며
tremendous blessing of heaven is it
하늘 부모님의
from heavenly parent. This is an expression of heavenly parents' tremendous love for humanity. And understanding heaven's providence. At an early age, in 1960, I ascended to the position of true parents.
그래요. 참 부모는 기독교
Therefore,
기반이
true parents
환경이 되어주지
were born
못한 자리에서
in a Christian cultural background,
부모이기에
and yet, despite the tremendous persecution and misunderstanding we faced at the hands of certain Christian groups, true parents began in the humblest of positions,
신도들을 중심 삼고
enduring tremendous persecution,
축복의
and yet true parents began the providence of the blessing from 1960, and since then true parents have blessed multitudes of couples and families around the world. Jesus mentioned
예수님이 가실 곳은 낙원이 아닙니다.
the place Jesus aspired to go to was not paradise, but the kingdom of heaven. That is why Jesus prophesied his return to hold the marriage wedding of the Lamb. This means that Jesus' unfulfilled desire was to become the true parent of humanity.
그 말은
In other words,
다시 말해서 우리가 지상 생활을 하고
once we conclude our earthly life, our eternal resting place, the place where we will live for eternity, is the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven is the place where we do not go as individuals, but as families.
그러기 때문에
Therefore,
참 부모는
true parents
준비된 환경이 갖춰지지는
have
못했지만
worked their entire lives, even though
온갖
they had to endure
수고로움과
tremendous persecution,
정성과
difficulties. True parents invested tremendous efforts.
2020이면은
And in 2020, true parents will celebrate their 60th holy wedding anniversary. For the past 60 years,
전 세계적으로
true parents have given birth to millions of blessed families around the world.
우리가 염원하는
The
평화의
world of
세계,
peace we all desire is the kingdom of heaven on earth.
참 부모가 계셔야만 하고
And
하늘 부모님이
the kingdom of heaven on earth is only possible when heavenly parent dwells in the midst of that kingdom together with true parents. There are more than 200 nations around the world today. However, before heavenly parent, everyone are brothers and sisters. And the movement to attend true parents and the blessing movement is expanding throughout the world.
모든 나라들과 대륙들이
All the nations of the world and all the continents of the world,
76억 인류가 된다면
if all the people, all 7.6 billion people around the world become heavenly parents, beloved children, then on that day, the kingdom of heaven on earth we yearn for will be realized.
그동안
Until now,
하나님을 모르는 인간으로서
there have been
무지한 인간으로서
those who lived
자기 중심한
self-centered lives,
이기적인
lives without any relationship to Heavenly Parent or His will,
생각한
lives filled with greed and selfishness.
나라들이 본래
It is time for everyone around the world and all the nations of the world to recognize Heavenly Parent's ideal and preserve this beautiful earth that God has created for us.
잘 보존하지 못하고
Due to the ignorance of
파괴한 결론이
some,
되어 있습니다.
the earth is ailing and nature is being destroyed.
기후 변화와
Climate change,
천재지변
natural cataclysms,
이루 말할 수
and
없는
other countless instances of pollution
힘들어하고 있습니다.
are severely affecting the health of the earth.
이 공해로
Furthermore, due to
항거할 수 없는
rising pollution,
많은 질병들과
countless people around the world are
문제들로서
suffering from various diseases,
앞으로 인류가 생존하는 데 있어서
and the survival of humanity
한계에 도달하고
is also
있는 현실입니다.
being questioned with the depletion of natural
다시
resources.
말해서
In other words,
인류의 미래가
the future
보이지
of
않습니다.
humanity is at risk.
그렇다면은
Therefore,
어떻게 해야 되겠습니까?
what should we do?
축복받은
Blessed
하나님의
families,
자녀들이
the children of God,
일어나서
it is now
이
time
모든
to rise.
문제들을
It is now time for us to solve all of the problems afflicting the world today and become the true stewards of creation who can preserve the earth in the pristine condition God created it. Let us take the lead so that we can realize the ideal of God, and God's ideal can be preserved for future generations.
이 나라에도 많은 문제가 있는 걸로 알고
I am
있습니다.
well aware that even this nation is also facing numerous challenges, whether in the realm of
문제 있는 사람이
politics, the economy.
하나님을 창조주
The time has come
모시는
to
운동을 해야 할
welcome
것입니다.
God as the true owner in our families. We need to lead a movement where we welcome God in our daily lives.
그래야만
This is the key
인간도
for
이 지구성도
humanity,
치유가
for this earth
가능할 수
to be
있습니다.
healed.
그렇게 하시겠습니까?
Will you join this effort?
그 아름다운
Hence,
그날을
let us work together to bring about this beautiful day.
기독교의 대표 국가인
Especially since America is the shining representative of Christianity and democracy. Will America take the lead in advancing God's will?
그래야만 우리의
If America takes the
이
lead,
세대를
I am certain that our beloved children, our beautiful sons and daughters will have a beautiful future.
많은 문제점을
There are countless problems in the world today. However, together with me, true mother as only begotten daughter, not just the beautiful couples who received the blessing today, but all the clergy members and all the citizens of this nation, let us join hands together to create a beautiful America, the beautiful kingdom of heaven on earth.